Hello there, greetings to you, and good to have you back on our program Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Yes, how are you doing? I hope you had a beautiful and a wonderful day, and you were able to, conclude or successfully achieve all what you've set out to do today. Yes, it is our program, the Regnum Continuous Legal Education, where we look at legal matters, where we get to discuss your right as a person, what you should know about the legal environment, everything you should know. So you have to grab a pen, grab a paper, and sit tight, because today's topic is one that you wouldn't want to miss. I am Peace Smith, reaching out to you on Star Cross Television, and of course, on Regnum Continuous Legal Education. I'm not the lawyer, so I don't talk much of that. We have a wonderful resource person right here with us, who will be looking or talking elaborately on the topic, and of course interact with you as well. So when it is time, make sure you send in your questions, and of course send in your comment, whatever you have to make an input about the topic. Please feel free to do so. We will be taking a short break to come back, and when we are right back, I will be unveiling our topic and as well the guest right here with me on set. Stay tuned, we will be right back.
Brotherhood of the Cross and Star United Kingdom joyfully invites all children of God to the commemoration of the Golden Jubilee celebration, 50 years of spiritual service and global impact. This landmark celebration will feature a week-long series of reflective, empowering and spiritual enriching activities. Highlights of the event include Monday, 14th July 2025, official opening ceremony at Elephant and Castle Bethel, Olympus House, Falmouth Road, London, United Kingdom by 7 p.m. Tuesday, 15th July 2025, special orientation for BCS Priest to be hosted by the Universal Assembly of BCS Priest Governing Board, as well as seminar with the Christ Universal Women Fellowship at Elephant and Castle Bethel by 5 p.m. Wednesday, 16th July 2025, the Golden Perspective Symposium, Night of Healing, Empowerment Session by the Universal Men Fellowship, Peace Garden Community Exhibition at Manchester Bethel, 151 Rabbit Street, Manchester, United Kingdom by 3 p.m. Thursday, 17th July 2025, Holy Thursday Fasting and Spiritual Reflection from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 18th July 2025, Community Outreach, Food Bank and Vegetarian Food Exhibition, Sensitization and Evangelism in local communities. Special highlights of the day include Golden Moment with the Holy Father by the BCS Youth from Western World and African nations at Mill Hill Bethel, London by 7 p.m. Saturday, 19th July 2025, Grand Finale and Choral Competition at Elephant and Castle Bethel, London by 3 p.m. Sunday, 20th July 2025, Thanksgiving Service by the Holy Father, His Holiness Olumba Obu, tagged Something More Than Gold, cutting of Golden Jubilee Anniversary Cake and Holy Father's Advice and Blessings at Elephant and Castle Bethel, Olympus House, Falmouth Road, London from 10 a.m. We warmly invite you to join in honoring this historical milestone in the spiritual journey of the BCS United Kingdom. Come and experience divine enlightenment, communal fellowship, and golden moment that will remain timeless. For further information, contact the National Administrator, Metri Christ Shepherd Angela Abwaje on +44 794 970 5692 and the National Secretary, Our Eminence Irene Goring on +44 779 431 0816. Petri Christ Shepherd Edith Uleon, Chairman, International Organizing Committee. Announcer.
What do we say to our Holy Father?
Thank you, Father! Thank you, Father! Thank you, Father!
All right, welcome back. Ralph Bride Banti once said that laws are like medicine. They can cure one disease or one's disease, but sometimes cause another. So you have to be wise when you are approaching the corridor of law. All right, good to have you back. It is the program Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Like I said, today's topic is one you wouldn't want to miss. And of course, to start with, let's look at the topic for this episode. The topic is a comparative analysis of trade union laws and right to organize labor in Nigeria and the USA, or United States of America. Permit me to take the topic once more. A comparative analysis of trade union laws and right to organize labor in Nigeria and as well in the United States of America. So this is a topic, like I said once more, you wouldn't want to miss, because we will be looking at what is trade union. What is trade unionism? Why should one, or why do you? Because definitely as a civil servant or someone who is equipped with one skill or the other, you should belong to a particular union that serves a purpose. So why? What's the essence of this? And what does the Nigerian Constitution talk about this? And of course, when you're looking at it in the United States of America, what's the Constitution there? So like I said, this is a topic not just to the student watching, it is also a topic for you as a business person, for you as a church, a pastor, whatever organization you belong. This is a topic for you. So now let's welcome our guest, delightful guest, who will be talking to us, should I say elaborately, on this topic. Good to have you here, sir. Barrister Kenneth Itoro Abasi. Welcome, sir. Good to have you.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the program.
How do you feel?
I'm okay.
I know the journey, all the way from Akwa Ibom State. Let me do a little gossip, Yes. Having to come down all the way from Akwa Ibom State down here whenever we call you, that should be like, a little stress in there. So
yeah, considering the road.
I hope you're good.
But the federal government is trying.
Yeah.
Actually, there are a lot of those places that are being worked on.
Okay, so are you speaking for or speaking?
Well, I am a concerned citizen.
Okay.
Only concerned. And I believe you saw the practical application of our last topic.
Yeah.
When we talk about customary international law and the role of the international community to ensure that sic utere tuo ut alenum non ledis. You remember?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the United States and Israel, it's like they saw or suspected that there is nuclear. So they all went there to ensure that it doesn't escape,
they
to
take
cause harm.
Control of that. Okay.
Yes, to take control.
All right, thank you
so that's
so
the
much,
practical of that what
right.
we discussed.
All right, good to have you once again on site. This is like
Yes.
the third time I'm sitting down close to you on
Yes,
site. If I'm not
yes.
wrong, good to have you once
You're
again.
welcome.
All right, so this is the live broadcast. You can watch us via our YouTube page, our Facebook page. Our phone line is displayed on the screen. We would love you to send in your inputs. Remember, before now, previously, we had spoken of an interesting topic. You would want to go back to our YouTube page or our Facebook page to, watch again. And of course, whenever you're watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education, do well to press the like button, share, of course, share to everyone so that they can also, learn something. Remember, you have to learn at least one thing a day. Knowledge is power. So let's go into our topic for today. Sorry for keeping you. I know you're ready for me. All right. So the topic is a comparative analysis of trade union laws and right to organize labor in Nigeria and in the United States of America. So let's start with understanding what is trade union.
Yes, a trade union is an organization allowed by law, formed by a combination of workers for the sole aim of collective bargaining and pressure on the government for the well-being of the workers. In simple terms, that is what a trade union is.
Okay, thank you.
A trade union is simply a combination of workers. If you are not a worker, you cannot join a trade union.
Okay.
It has to be a combination of workers or employers. Employers are equally allowed to form trade unions.
So employers, like, is it government employers or private employers?
Yes, private employers, government employers, but provided, I think the section 1 sub 3 of the Trade Unions Act says once they are up to 2 employers, they can form a trade union.
Okay.
And then the workers, once they are up to 50, they can form a trade union.
Okay.
So a trade union is simply a combination of workers that have formed themselves into collective bargaining position, always going to meet with the employers for the benefit of the terms and condition of the workers who are members of that union.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. So now, when you talked about employers, I asked you if, of course, does it involve just the government workers, although you have made analysis on that. So I believe we have other types of trade union, if I'm not wrong. Can you also look at that?
Yeah, there are other types of trade, but all of them must come under one umbrella.
Okay.
Maybe a federation of trade unions. There is an international trade union where, for instance, in Africa, there is an international trade union that takes care of all the trade unions in Africa. So that is an international trade union. There is a confederation of trade unions.
Can I ask you this? Sorry, can I ask you this?
Okay.
Now, looking at to say, for example, I am a craftsman, and there is another person who can do that. Can we also form? It doesn't have to be maybe we are being paid, but because we are skilled about
we
what we
are
doing.
coming to that.
Okay.
Let us just know what a trade union is.
Okay.
In the process, in the process of the discussion, we will come to that because somebody, silversmith, did something which we want to bring up. Yeah, because maybe when we're talking about how the foundation of trade union, then that is when all that will come up.
Okay, thank you so much, because I believe asking you that question, you were also supposed to enlighten me more on the development.
And then in order to help our viewers, let us look at, I know that there have been an evolution of what has happened to get to the present position of trade unionism in the world. But let us look at present now, for instance, in Nigeria, what is a trade union under that law, under Section 1, Subsection 1 of the Trade Union Act 2004. It says that it's any combination of workers or employers, I tried to say that, whether temporarily or permanent, the purpose of which is to regulate the terms and conditions of employment of workers, whether the combination in question would or will not, apart from this act, be an unlawful combination by virtue of any of its purposes being in restaurant of trade, and whether its purpose is to do or not to include the provision of the benefits of its members. That is how Section 1, Subsection 1 of the Trade Unions Act define a trade union. So it has to be a combination of workers or employers for the welfare of the benefit. If it is a combination of employers, for the benefit of the employers. If it is a combination of workers, for the benefit of the workers.
Okay, thank you so much. Now let's look at the biblical foundation that relates to or involves labor and trade unionism.
Yeah, that was the aspect where I said you should play down on that when you try to bring it up.
Okay.
You see, if you want to, I have always discovered and held the view that anything that is holding sway in the world today was first and foremost done by God. And everything we as humans have tried to do is to follow up what God has already done. If you go to your Genesis chapter 2 verse 15, you find out that God dressed a garden and put a man there to take care of that garden. That was the beginning of labor in the world. Say, take care of this garden. Even gave him the job. Even the animals as they are being called today is the way Adam named them. So that was labor at its very beginning. It was started by God himself. Now, if we go down and we go to Acts chapter 19, verse 25 to 27, we see that why so many Christians do not want to get associated with trade unionism, it's because of its foundation. Its foundation was against Christianity. If you go to Acts Gospel chapter 19, verse 24 to 27, you find out that a man called Demetrius came up when Paul was in Asia to preach around Macedonia, and he was preaching against idolatry. He was preaching against the use of, ornaments, things to make a Baal, a kind of an idol for Diana. Diana is the goddess of wilderness hunt and hunt, for hunters and for and of the wilderness and of the sun. So he was making a shiny silver idol for Diana. So Paul preached against it. So now what Demetrius did was to call all artisans, all craftsmen in that profession of making shiny idols for Diana. They called them silversmith. He called all of them together and said, do not allow Paul to take away bread from our mouth. Making these shiny silversmiths for Diana is from where we eat for the people. Because anybody that wants to go to them, they do the Chinese meat, that idol, that Diana idol, and give to them whatever they used it to do. So that was the beginning of trade unionism. And that is why most Christians see it from that negative aspect. But then the truth remains that that negative period has passed, and trade unionism may stand for positive issues and for positive values, rather than bringing craftsmen, artisans, workers together to say, do not listen to the word of God, because that is what it meant. If you read it down, 24 to 27, Acts 19, you find out that it was very clear. And that caused a lot of confusion for Paul in Asia when he went to preach. That everybody that was making the shiny silvers idol was against the preaching of Christ, because he preached against idolatry. Today, that is not what we have. Today, we have a situation where the welfare of workers are at the fore and the front burner of trade unionism. So, biblically, trade unionism and labor, I have mentioned Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, where God dressed the garden
and
asked Adam to stay. Okay. We will see other Bible portions as we progress. But then, when you go to the negative aspect, when it comes to trade unionism, you will find out somebody calling for the first time in history, calling people and say, look, you are a silversmith. I'm a silver, that man is a silversmith. Let us all come together. Somebody wants to come and take our daily bread. He is preaching against idolatry. And that person was Paul when he was in Asia, preaching against idol worship. So they ganged up against him. So, but I have also said that today the situation has changed. Wow. That trade unionism is not to stop the preaching of the word of God. Rather, trade unionism is for the welfare and betterment of the people.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That's interesting to know that actually, or looking at it biblically, it was meant, to sabotage the efforts of maybe some of the should I use the word Christians who try to
yes, early Christians.
Yes, early Christians who tried to fight against the essence of this trade union. Yes. All right, so let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue. Stay tuned.
Brotherhood of the Cross and Star United Kingdom joyfully invites all children of God to the commemoration of the Golden Jubilee celebration, 50 years of spiritual service and global impact. This landmark celebration will feature a week-long series of reflective, empowering and spiritual enriching activities. Highlights of the event include Monday, 14th July 2025, official opening ceremony at Elephant and Castle Bethel, Olympus House, Falmouth Road, London, United Kingdom by 7 p.m. Tuesday, 15th July 2025, special orientation for BCS Priest to be hosted by the Universal Assembly of BCS Priest Governing Board, as well as seminar with the Christ Universal Women Fellowship at Elephant and Castle Bethel by 5 p.m. Wednesday, 16th July 2025, the Golden Perspective Symposium, Night of Healing, Empowerment Session by the Universal Men Fellowship, Peace Garden Community Exhibition at Manchester Bethel, 151 Rabbit Street, Manchester, United Kingdom by 3 p.m. Thursday, 17th July 2025, Holy Thursday Fasting and Spiritual Reflection from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 18th July 2025, Community Outreach, Food Bank and Vegetarian Food Exhibition, Sensitization and Evangelism in local communities. Special highlights of the day include Golden Moment with the Holy Father by the BCS Youth from Western World and African nations at Mill Hill Bethel, London by 7 p.m. Saturday, 19th July 2025, Grand Finale and Choral Competition at Elephant and Castle Bethel, London by 3 p.m. Sunday, 20th July 2025, Thanksgiving Service by the Holy Father, His Holiness Olumba Obu, tagged Something More Than Gold, cutting of Golden Jubilee Anniversary Cake and Holy Father's Advice and Blessings at Elephant and Castle Bethel, Olympus House, Falmouth Road, London from 10 a.m. We warmly invite you to join in honoring this historical milestone in the spiritual journey of the BCS United Kingdom. Come and experience divine enlightenment, communal fellowship and golden moment that will remain timeless. For further information, contact the National Administrator, Metri Christ Shepherd Angela Abwaje on +44 794 970 5692 and the National Secretary, Her Eminence Irene Goring on +44 779 431 0816. Petri Christ Shepherd Edith Uleon, Chairman, International Organizing Committee. Announcer.
What do we say to our Holy Father?
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father.
Welcome back. In case you are just tuning in, you're watching the Regnum Continuous Legal Education, and our topic for this episode, or we have been discussing, is a comparative analysis of trade union laws and right to organized labor in Nigeria and, of course, in the United States of America. And so far, we have our brother here, Barrister Kenneth Itorabasi, who was on a course already. He has been able to justify what, when we are talking about trade union, what it actually means. And of course, looking at the biblical foundation of labor and trade union. And to, crown it all, he said it was developed, then, when you're looking at the biblical history, that it was developed to, sabotage the plans or aggressive plans of early Christians. And you also cited biblical portions or verses for us. Can you continue on that?
Yes. If you look at Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11, it says, whoever works with his hands will have plenty to eat. But the one who chases unrealistic dreams has no sense. That's what Proverbs 12:11 says. Now, if you go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10, it says, he that will not walk, let him not eat. And then if you go down again to Deuteronomy 24 to 15, 14 to 15, it says, do not withhold the wages. Very important. Do not withhold the wages from your workers, for their livelihood depends on them. Do not withhold wages from your workers, for their livelihood depends on that wages. And then Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 to 6 caps it all. Summarizes that those who become rich by abusing workers have sinned against God.
Wow.
So whoever is busy making money because he's cheating.
You should also look at maybe the antecedents.
the British colonized Nigeria, the British also attempted to colonize the USA. So every idea of what has happened in Nigeria will also happen in the USA. So it is better for us to begin the origin, that is the worldly origin of trade union, from the British, because they are the ones, though when we got to a point, we will now break and look at what happened in the USA and what happened in Nigeria. Now, the early forms of association were developed in medieval. The early forms of association were developed in medieval Europe, which was one of religious origin by the Roman Catholic Church. And then the structure that was developed was that of the clergymen. The clergymen, they formed themselves into groups. As at that time, everything was about the church. Now, the time went on, they began to be formed associations. This is a religious program, but we have to mention some of these associations. Some of them were those of the Freemasons. That was the period of the Industrial Revolution and the French Revolution.
Renaissance period.
That was the Renaissance period. Yeah. So a lot of people, like, you want to look at the origin of trade union from that aspect, you find out that they were artisans. They were the building up of new towns and cities. They were new machinery for work, and so a lot of redundancy, just like what we are now trying to talk about, artificial intelligence. We should be careful about it. It is still part of work. We should be careful about it, otherwise it may lead to a lot of redundancies. So that was that time when that period, that medieval period, that new information, new technology, new ways of life, new ways of living came into being. And now most of these people now started realizing that they were losing their means of livelihood. So the hatters, craftsmen, they all formed themselves into societies, associations, to guard those professions that they were into, those crafts, so that they will not, be daily. They were being retrenched. The people that employed them were daily removing them from work. So they were looking at a way of safeguarding their employment. And this led the government to pass what we call the Unlawful Societies Act in 1799, that now criminalized trade union. That if you belong to a trade union, the penalty was imprisonment and all that.
Wow.
And now there was also passed the Combination Act. There was a Combination Act that was passed to further strengthen the Unlawful Societies Act. That was how trade union, started. They suffered a lot of, humiliation. But as time went on, around 1824, the law was made to allow trade unionism breathe a little. So the laws that were made, the trade union laws that were made to allow trade unionism breathe a little, was around 1824, 1825, is what led to the trade union status or status quo as we see today in Nigeria. Now, in Nigeria and the USA, now if you go to United States of America, trade unionism was formed from crafts in 1886. And now what really led to the strong unionism in the United States of America was what we call the Shedwest Fire of 1911. Shedwest Fire was a company that was dealing on fabrics, and about 146 women that were working in a 9-story building, where I think the West Share Fire Company was hosted in the 8th and 9th floor of that building. Now the employers locked the door, took the key, and when this fire started, those people could not get out of that building. So not less than 146 women or people were burnt to death. And that led to the formation of trade union in the United States of America. Now, the formation of trade union in the United States of America was championed by a man called Samuel Gompers, who was the president of the American Federation of Labor. He was the one that pressurized the president of the United States as at that time, Wilson Woodrow to form Wilson Woodrow. He was the one that championed the formation of what we call the International Labour Organization, because most of what we have as laws, trade union laws in Nigeria and elsewhere today is born out of the trade union, the International Labour Organization. So in USA now, it was that man, that Samuel Gompers, that now pressurized Wilson Woodrow to ensure that the International Labour Organization was formed. And he was the one that was part of the drafting of the initial constitution of the International Labour Organization. Don't forget that in this same program, we spoke about the role of the coming of the Messiah in 1918. And it was at this time too, during the Treaty of Versailles, that whatever was being planned by that president was coming to fruition. And they had a conference in France, and during that conference, that was when they presented the constitution of the International Labour Organization that brought about what we have as the right to organize trade labor. That right to organize trade labor is actually Convention number 87 of the International Labour Organization of 1948.
Okay.
Now, from that point, you now find out that that was on July 9th, 1948. By December 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was drafted and given effect. And under Article 21 to 23, you will find out that the right to join any association, the right to economic empowerment, the right to, freedom of association and assembly, right to employment, especially in Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You will now realize that that Article 23 is what is now being used by so many countries, including Nigeria, as a constitutional right.
Okay, so now I would like to come in there. Sorry, I would like to come in there because you have said something about right to freedom of assembly. And now, when you're comparing between Nigeria and that of the USA, is there any limitations to these rights when it comes to these two countries?
Well, by way of explanation that I was going, you find out that that Convention number 87 of 1948 is the right to organize trade union activities.
Okay, so what are the
now
limitations?
what happens? Okay, now what happens is that if you are a member country to the International Labour Organization, you are supposed to adopt that in your own country. You understand?
Very
and
well.
Then make it a constitutional provision such that it cannot be derogated. But in Nigeria, based on your question now, Section 45 allows the derogation. It is not an absolute right. Section 45 of the 1999 Constitution allows derogation of that right. It is not absolute. In the interest of public peace and public morality, it can be derogated.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that the International Labour Organization made that convention for ratification by member countries. They were all encouraged to ratify. Don't even forget that immediately after that Convention 87 of 1948, there came Convention number 98 of 1949, which is the right to collective bargaining.
Okay.
Trade unionism and collective bargaining are Siamese twins. You cannot talk about trade unionism without talking about collective bargaining.
I would like to bring you back, sir, because
Okay.
I feel this is one session that we all have to understand better. Even our audience out there, they have to also understand better over what we are now doing. Why I'm asking this question is that in 1985, a certain group of senior staffs actually applied to register to have a trade union amongst themselves. And then the registrar of the trade union rejected the application, right here in Nigeria. So they rejected the application, stating that existing unions already represent the same interest as per the set of
I was
persons.
coming today.
Okay, please, because I want more clarity on this, discussion.
If you go to 1978 Trade Unions Act, there was a line of the first Trade Union Act in Nigeria. In Nigeria now, we are going to Nigeria now, was the Trade Union Ordinance of 1938.
Okay.
The next was the Trade Union Ordinance of 1958. The first trade union in Nigeria was the Southern Nigeria Civil Service Union, what we call the Nigeria Civil Service Union.
Okay.
That was formed in 1912. And then it was followed by the Railway Union and the Teachers Union.
Sorry, I would like to come in that the railway actually gave birth to the Nigerian Civil Union.
No. The Nigerian Civil Service Union was in 1912.
Yeah.
The Railway Union and the Teachers Union came in 1931.
Okay.
Yes. And then we had the first trade union was the Trade Union Ordinance of 1938, like I said. Now, by the time Nigeria saw the proliferation after the colonial rule, Nigeria gained independence in 1960.
Sure.
Then that period, when the Registrar of Trade Union saw the proliferation of trade unions, they were more than 1,000.
Yeah.
They now had to streamline a lot of issues. One of the issues is that if there is a trade union in your own industry, you cannot form another trade union. It's a very simple thing. For instance, if there is Nigerian Bar Association, that's a good example. If the Nigerian Bar Association, if it is a trade union, if it has been registered as a trade union, you cannot form another union for lawyers.
Okay.
That is what they are trying to say. If, for instance, I think there is a particular case on even what you are saying, though I may not be able to lay, but if by the end of this program, if I get it, I'll mention.
That's of the Osawe and Ox?
Osawe against Registrar of Trade Unions,
yes.
You are right. In that case, you now realize that these people already had nurses. The nurses already had a trade union, and they wanted to form a breakaway trade union. The law does not allow that. Everybody under Nigeria, simple explanation, are under the Nigeria Labour Congress. And then for the trades, there is the Trade Union Congress. So every trade will have to go under the Trade Union Congress. Every form of trade, you go under there. So you cannot, for instance, if there is a association of lab as a trade union, you can now not form Southern Nigeria Association of Lab.
Everyone falls.
Everybody.
As long as you are
thank you. As far as you are a lab scientist, you have
Okay.
to fall under that Association of Lab.
Okay.
You don't go forming Northern Nigeria Association of Lab. So that was what happened in Osawe and trade unions, in simple terms. And so the registrar said, no, there is already an existing trade union. You cannot register this. So that does not derogate the freedom of association. It doesn't. Because that is where they were coming from, that it derogates their freedom of association under the Constitution. And I am telling you here now that by Section 45 of the 1999 Constitution, public order, you see where it comes in now,
Yeah.
public order. Because if they continue to register Akwa Ibom State Nurses Association, Rivers State Nurses, public order and public safety might come into play. So to allow that uniformity and order in the society, all the nurses will go under National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwife. So they are the only body to certify that this person, no matter where he is in Nigeria, is a nurse. The Nigerian Bar Association is the only body that will satisfy any person, wherever where he is in Nigeria, is a lawyer. The Nigerian Medical Association is also a trade union. They are the ones that certify that wherever he is in the country, that is a medical doctor known to them. So you cannot now go and say, not the Nigeria medical doctors. That was what they were trying to do. And that the registrar who has authority in that regard, formation of trade unions and the registering of trade unions under the Trade Unions Act, is an office that he takes a decision and you can appeal against it. And when they went on appeal, the Court of Appeal agreed
Okay.
with that his own decision that, look, you cannot form a trade union when there is already an umbrella union that you are supposed to fall under.
Okay, so away from that, let's look at what are those criteria? What are the criteria, sorry, that one can say, okay, if you have this criteria, you can actually, register your, maybe the trade union, maybe you are coming with a group of persons and you want to register. What are the necessary criteria one can reach to ensure that such a person or such a group can actually register?
It's very simple. The first criteria that you have to reach is that there should be no such trade union in the country.
Okay.
2, under the Trade Unions Act, the members, that is the workers that want to form the union, should be up to 50.
Okay.
If it is an employers union, there should not be at least less than 2. Then under the Trade Unions Act, there are a lot of requirements, political requirements, the legal structure.
Well, when you mean political requirements?
Yes, under Section 15.
Okay.
Are they forming that trade union for political purpose? It is not allowed. The money, the funds, the check-off dues of the members is not even being allowed for use for political purposes. So those are some of the criteria that the structure. Is it in restaurant of trade? Earlier than now, before the coming into effect of the Trade Unions Act, you understand? Restaurant of trade was a criteria. So if you want to form a union that will come and restrain the trade of another, it will not be allowed. But now, it is not a condition. That has been removed. So even if it is going to be in restaurant of trade, provided you have met the number of the 50 people members, you have equally met the number in case of an employer of 2, you now have a trade that is not already registrable. You understand? If there is for instance, let us talk about artificial intelligence. If it comes, by the time it blossoms, maybe in the country, and it gets to the point that people are now practicing artificial intelligence, let's assume those robots can register themselves as a trade union. The robots now, because artificial intelligence is about the use of robots for work. So those robots can register themselves as a trade union and say, don't allow any human being to work.
Wow.
Only us will work as far as this trade is concerned. So let Nigerians and the world over be prepared for that time when the robots will get up and say no human being.
As hilarious as that sounds, okay.
Also, we are registered trade union, don't allow anybody to work. It is that job is for us robots.
Okay.
So those are some of the criteria.
All right,
the Trade Union Act, from section 1 to the end, section by section provides, the rules and regulations, the accounts, the election of members of executives, the age through which a person can be an executive.
So talking about the age, can we look at that?
Yes, I think a person of 18 years can join a trade union.
As long as he is an employee
of
a particular...
Yes, but he cannot be an executive member at that age. Wow. I think the age of executive member is fixed at 25 or thereabouts. So those are some of the... If you go into the Trade Unions Act, the whole workability of, having a trade union is provided for.
All right, thank you so much. Now, you talked about protecting the rights of the employers or the employee. Yes. And now let's say in a country where things are not actually moving, maybe there is downsizing maybe in the workforce, and maybe salaries are not being paid. Just like you quoted, is it Deuteronomy chapter 22, if I'm not wrong, or so, a verse in the Bible. Now, when this certain group of persons, or let's just say the trade union, or this union, either revolts by going on a strike or something, do you think it is right? Does the government of that country have the right to, suppress the union for taking such decisions?
Well, it has to do with, we were looking at Nigeria and the USA. I hope we'll come back to that. It will depend on the body language of that country, the constitution and the laws of that country. For instance, in Nigeria, the Minister of Labor is the be-all and all as far as trade union matters is concerned.
Okay, speaking.
The Minister of Labor, whether in the private sector, whether in the public sector, the Minister of Labor, even if you go out, you win a a collective bargaining. For instance, people now say, no, you cannot retrench everybody. You go, the court grants it and bring. It still has to pass through the Minister of Labour. So Minister of Labour is the person now under the Trade Disputes Act, I think section 2, 3 and 4. If you look at it, and other sections there in the Trade Disputes Act, the Minister of the Labour is the one that will receive the award from the court, or the court judgment is the one that will decide whether to implement. So such, far-reaching powers are given to the Minister of Labour. So if the Minister of Labour does not accept, it cannot be implemented. I think that is the only negative aspect, or let me not use the word language negative. That is the only barrier to realization of collective bargaining, because the only people, or the only time, the only situation in which there can be mass retrenchment and people will get up to say, no, you cannot retrench massively, is through the union, which is for the, like we said, that they are being formed for the benefit and welfare of the workers.
So in a process where the union are not speaking for this set of
No, the union are always speaking. Okay. Also equally talk about the pressure of the government on the union leaders, on the union executive. You are not a kid or a child. You've been hearing where union leaders have been arrested and locked up. I understand one of them has equally been locked up some days ago for saying they should pay wage award or something. You understand? So the problem that you now have is that the Minister of Labour, the government on his own part in some countries will now stand up and then set up a barrier to ensure that realization of trade union goals is not allowed. But when it comes to strike, the worker anywhere in the world has a right to strike. You understand? The only thing is that in some countries, for instance, under the Trade Disputes Act, it is a no work, no pay rule. And that is why, like today, the Academic Staff Union of Universities are now saying no work, no pay, no work. They have to reverse it to be no pay, no work. Okay. So by the time it is 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th of the month, they have not received their salaries, they down their tools and wait to be paid. Because the other way around, it is no work, no pay. So this other way around, it should be no pay, no work. So that is...
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that explanation.
Yes.
All right, so we are still talking about a comparative analysis of trade union laws and right to organize labor in Nigeria and, of course, in the USA. Yes, after this short break, we will continue with our discussion, so stay tuned.
King of kings and Lord of lords, holiness, the supreme judge of the universe, now seated upon the throne, the holy throne of his Father, great leader, Olumbabu, all spirit way of the world. It will be the only source of peace in the world. There is no real peace. It will be our Bambira. The human race should listen to the living Christ. No one can escape thy wrath, oh God. We gotta coexist in love, else it will be a bumpy ride. It will be, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. It will be a bumpy ride. Fire and flood, infectious diseases are in action. Natural disasters are symptoms of his judgment. Inhabitants of this world recognize his omnipotence. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. It will be a bumpy ride. Political
Welcome back. You're still watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education, and of course we are looking at the topic, a comparative analysis of trade union laws and the right to organize labor in Nigeria and in United States of America. Yes, this is a time where if you have questions, you can actually call in, or you can, drop your input on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. And of course, we have a legal practitioner who is here to, do justice to your concern on this episode. All right, so remember, while you're watching, remember to share, like the program, of course, for more notification. All right, good to have you back, sir.
Yes.
So now let's look at the freedom of association and the right to organize labor as operated in the United States of America.
It's okay. I already said that the whole thing started in America.
Yeah.
The right to organize trade union activities as it is today in the world started in America after the Shed West fire of 1911. That there was the president of the American Federation of Labor called Samuel Gompers. He worked with the president of the United States called Wilson Woodrow, and together they came up with a draft. They came up with an idea of selling to the entire world that social justice is guaranteed justice, and that most of the problems in the world prior to that period, that 1918-1919 period, was as a result of insatiability of labor not being satisfied with the way they were being treated. You will agree with me, right from the 16th, 17th century, the Industrial Revolution period, the entire of the problems was as a result of labor not being satisfied with the way they were being treated. So this Samuel Gompers came up with the idea that, look, labor justice will spell and mean peace to the entire world and cope most of this. And it is true, because the economic well-being is mental well-being. Yeah. By the time you look at your pocket, there's 100,000. If you wanted to do something, you remember, I said, no, let me rather use this money and find small business to do. But once your pocket are empty, even if they call you and say, come, let's go and find, you go now, nothing for you. So you want to, you understand, you don't feel any value for yourself. So when Samuel Gompers came up with this idea, this now went into the conference, the Paris Peace Conference of 1918-1919, at the Treaty of Versailles. The International Labour Organization, early that year, 5th of January 1919, was born. Now, this International Labour Organization started making drafts. For instance, in America, there is the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Okay, what does it talk about?
The Fair Labor Standards Act talked about the hours of work, maternity leave, generally, maternity leave, minimum wage. All those are spelled out in America in the Fair Labor Standards Act. And then after, at the point where they were trying to finalize the International Labour Organization convention on the right to organize, there was the President Frederick Roosevelt formed what we call, or signed what we call, the Wagner Act, which is the National Labor Relations Act, 1935. They call it the Wagner Act. That Wagner Act was to regulate, is the equivalent of the Trade Unions Act in Nigeria. The only difference between that act and the law in Nigeria is that the Wagner Act deals with the private sector. Oh. So the entire of the private sector is regulated by the National Labor Relations Act, which they call the Wagner Act of 1935. Now, when you come down, you now realize that in 1947, there was the Labor Management Relations Act, which was made to review the Wagner Act, which is the main legislation of trade unions in America. Now they call that the Taft-Hartley Act, but the name is the Labor Management Relations Act, which regulates railway and aviation Railway and aviation does not have business with the private sector National Labor Relations Act. Now, in the public sector, don't forget that America is a true federalism. They operate through federalism in America. So the federal, the state, and the local governments are all on their own. They make their own laws. So now, for the federal workers, there is the Federal Labor Relations Authority. That one takes care of, you know, trade union and collective bargaining issues at the federal level. Then the states and the county councils or the municipal councils have their own way of resolving their own labor disputes. But as far as whether it is in the county council, whether it is in the state, whether it is in the federal, and it is a private sector driven economy, it is the National Labor Relations Act, it is the Labor Management Relations Act, and another law that was made in 1959, which they call the Random Grieving Act. So those three acts are what regulates trade unionism in America.
Even up to contemporary
Even
times?
up to, yes.
Okay, there is no amendments?
Yes, if there are any amendments, but those were the principal acts that regulate strikes, wildcard strikes. Wildcard strikes are the ones that the labor unions did not sanction. They didn't agree, but the staff members go on. They call those ones wildcard strikes because they were not an agreed, agreed and sanctioned by the executive of the labor union. Now, don't forget about that. America being a true federalism, the federal government has the right to make executive orders. Those executive orders, just like the power of the Minister of Labor in Nigeria, can equally affect trade union action in the United States of America. So that, in a nutshell, is how trade unionism in America operates. And I said all this began in 1911, from the 25th of March 1911, after the Shed West fire at Manhattan, in New York City.
Whatever that may be disturbing the people under its members of the union.
No, the workers are the members of the union.
Perhaps.
Any person, no, let me correct that. Any person who is not a worker cannot be a member of a union.
Okay.
Because unionism is operated on employment.
Can I come in there, please, before you go on? Okay. Because, like in school, for example, now, I did History and International Studies, and we have an umbrella, Nigerian Historical Society or National Historical Society, which I am of Nigeria, which I am a member of. That's like a union, if we must put it the right way. Now, despite the fact that I may not actually or currently be working, I feel this union, both lecturers, as long as you are under maybe history department or history as long as you are under maybe history department or history as a whole, you understand, you have to be under this union. When you go to journalists or journalism, they have their own union and all of that. So what if this umbrella, which is maybe trade union or anyhow, is not speaking the minds of each of its members under this? What do you think will happen?
Well, if the members are not able to air their views, but are relying on the representation of the executive, what the executive are presenting will be taken as being the minds of the people. But that is it. Because, for instance, now I want to answer you that question using the present constitutional review that is going on. You see, they were every part, nook and cranny of Nigeria, the different regions, they had to go and do. They had to call them to come and meet with the representatives and air their views. Public hearing. Now, after that public hearing, whatever is the outcome of the public hearing is by the different regions is what is taken back to the National Assembly for lawmaking. Okay. I'm giving you as an example. Now, supposing when they came here, everybody said that there should be no states, rather that we should go back to regions. It's an example I'm giving. we should go back to regions. But when they get to the National Assembly, the representatives there say that they should create 45 states. That is not what was discussed at the public hearing. But because they are the ones to pass the law, they are the ones to vote, they might end up creating states. That was not what you wanted. So it is the executives of the union that speak the minds of the union. The only thing the union members do is to pay their check-off dues to signify membership.
So in a
Vote of no confidence on the representatives. But what the 50 and sending it to the registrar of trade unions and say we don't want these representatives because they are not speaking our minds when they are going for collective bargaining.
Okay, all
Yes,
right.
that
Thank
is
you
what-
so
that is-
much.
that's
I
what-
feel you have answered my question satisfactorily. Thank you so much. Now let's look into what is the Father's teachings. I mean, the Holy Father, His Holiness Solomon Babu's teachings on labor and trade unionism.
You simply go to Matthew chapter 11 verse 28. It says, come unto me all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That is the Father's teachings on labor. So no matter what you work, you can remember what happened to Peter. Peter was fishing all day, but he couldn't catch one fish, not even one. But Jesus Christ told him, cast thy net in that place. And the result was awesome. So today, the Father is calling on all creations of the world and telling them that they should come unto him. That no matter how heavy their labor, he will give them rest. And at Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, we see labor from the rest point of view. So once you come into the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, the first thing the Father will do is to lift that heavy burden. That burden of sin, the labor of sin. Sure, you know sin is a labor.
Yeah, of course.
That labor of sin, it takes it away from you. That labor of pursuit by people. You didn't commit an offense. Lies on your head. Woes, curses. What the Father does first and foremost is to lift all those burdens from you. And so that at the end of the day, if you are just sitting by the roadside to sell granules, you can see the benefits. Because when all those stumbling blocks are removed, once you are free, you say, he that he has made free is free indeed. And then when you come to him, he makes you free and you are free indeed. Whatever you touch your hand to do is blessed. That is the Father's teaching. So we call on everyone to come. The gate is wide open. In Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, there is a lot of place, a lot of rooms, a lot of house, a lot of space. Come in and enjoy the promise of God in your life.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I have, tempted to ask you this question.
Please.
In a situation where maybe a member was being punished for maybe attending union activities, because I feel this is common issue that could arise anywhere. So in a situation where maybe a worker, a worker is being punished, maybe he or she went for, union activities, and maybe he's being punished by maybe the employer, either by, relieving him of a job and all of that. And now he decides to take the employer to court. So how do you resolve such case?
As far as he's paying his check-off dues in that union, in that organization, as far as there is a pay slip that shows that 50 naira is being deducted from his salary for that union, he has a right to attend trade union activities. It is a constitutional right under Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution, which is the freedom of association. All I said is that it is not an absolute right. It can be derogated under Section 45 of the 1999 for public order, public safety, public health, public morality, as listed under Section 45. But in as much as there is evidence of check-off dues being paid by that person, he has a right to attend trade union activities. And so whenever there is notice of trade union activities, every member, every staff have a right to attend.
So,
but don't forget that in the kingdom of God, that there is no unionism. So in the kingdom of God, there can be no union and there can be no attendance of a union. For where there is the Spirit of God, there is liberty. So everybody is free. There is no reason why a child of God in a kingdom created by God should go into a union in that kingdom.
So away from the kingdom, let's
Right.
put it outside there.
Okay.
This person has a union, he or she is a member too,
Yes.
and now he went for activities
I have
of the
answered
union,
that question
and now
that he has
comes
a
back,
right.
I'm coming, now comes back to, maybe he didn't take permission from the office or wherever he's working, and the
Okay.
employer decides to either relieve him as a form of punishment, either relieve him or subcharge him over maybe they are, having to leave his official duties for something different, extra curriculum, should I put it that way, activities.
You have answered that question.
Okay, fine, but I'll still like you as a lawyer
You answered
to
the question. You
answer.
said he didn't take permission. That is what you said. He said maybe he
Okay,
didn't take
remove
permission.
the take permission out of it
Yes.
and now give us
Because you
a
have answered the
lawful
question.
correspondence.
The correct answer is what I've given you. If every other situation is under control, you are taking permission, or the employer is aware that this person is a member of this association,
Okay.
and